ஏதன் கண்ணே நிலையாகி இருந்திடும் உலகமெல்லாம் எதனதெல்லாம் எதனின்று அனைத்துலகும் எழுமோ மற்றிவையாகும் எதன் பொருட்டாம் எதனாலும் வையமெல்லாம் எழுந்திடும் எல்லாமும் எதுவே ஆகும் அதுதானே உளபொருளாம் சத்தியமாம் அச்சுருவம் அகத்தில் வைப்பாம் தாபம் தன் சந்திரனார் தைமிய நற்கற்பகத்தால் பாபம் தான் கங்கையால் பாருமே தாபம் முதல் இம்மூன்றும் ஏகும் இடையில்லா சாதுக்கள் தம்மா தரிசனத்தால் தாம். By Bhagwan's grace, we are meditating on verse number 4 of Ulladu Narpadu Anubandham. The verse goes like this: Tabam tan Chandiranal Dainiyan Nar Karpagatta Pabam tan Gangayar Parume Tabam Mudal இம்மூன்றும் ஏகும் இணையில்லா சாதுக்கள் தம் மா தரிசனத்தால் தாம். Sadhuvam Swamigal translates this verse for us as heat. Tabam, heat will be removed by the cool moon. Poverty by the celestial wish-fulfilling Kalpataru tree, and sin by the Ganga, the holy river Ganges. But know that all these three, immundrum ehum, all these three will be removed. Beginning with heat will be removed merely by the great and rare darshanam of the incomparable sadhus, that is by once merely seeing them. What is the blessing of these three? The moon, the Kalpataru, and Ganges, the holy river Ganges, respectively removing the heat, the want, and the sins. But Kanakammal says each one of them can remove only one of these problems. Either if we take the moon, or what is referred to as moon, then that removes the tabam, the heat or anxiety or anguish, overall anguish that someone is undergoing. If you take the Kalpataru, then that can solve the want, the need, the wish-fulfilling tree it is. Whereas it cannot solve the other two. It doesn't remove the anguish, it doesn't remove sins. And once you come to river Ganges, Kanakamal says, it doesn't remove or guarantee the removal of want or tabam. They can respectively offer to remove that one particular shortfall. Whereas Kanakamal adds to the shloka by saying, not only these three, but the root of all these three, the ego, is also removed in the darshanam of the sadhu. Not only these three, but she embellishes the verse by saying, that which is not addressed by these three and which is certainly not offered to be removed by these three, the ego is removed by the darshanam of the sadhu, the jnani. So having taken the benefit of our great Kanakamai's commentary, let us move on to see what this verse is offering us. All these 5 verses, the first 5 verses are, as we saw earlier, are about satsang, are about the association of a jnani, are about association with the self through surrender or atma-vichara. So the sadhu could mean the association with a jnani, or with the jnani's blessings, the surrender to the self or practice of atma-vichara is what is referred to as satsang in these 5 verses. And this particular verse is Tabam Tan Chandirana. By the cool moon, the Tapatraya are addressed and removed. Now, the sun and the moon have some references in our scriptures as to the heat generating nature of the sun and the coolness offering nature of the moon in connection with sadhana. That the moon refers to the non-rajasic and sattvic practices that we have. For instance, the Tapatraya are said to be Adi-Bhautika, Adi-Dhaivika and Adhyatmika. Adi-Bhautika is said to be referring to the body, for which Bhagavan also says sattvic food in limited quantity helps. For the Adi-Dhaivika, it is called Manasika. The Tapatraya there, Adi-Dhaivika is the mental Tapatraya that we have. That is removed, which may be caused by so many things. The negative emotions or due to some anxiety. That is removed by a purified mind. When the mind is pure, that tension, that anxiety, that heat, it cools down. And Adhyatmika is whom we wrongly associate ourselves with. Oh, how deprived I am. What a parentage I have had. All this society is against me. When we have these thoughts, when we identify with as though we are a victim and not a conscious entity, then there is an Adhyatmika problem. There is an anxiety which is inbuilt by identifying with something, that I am this, I am so and so. That is removed by the stillness of ego, the surrender of ego to God, the identity as a devotee, or direct stilling of the ego in Atma-Vichara. That is how those Tapatraya, Adi-Bhautika, Adi-Dhaivika and Adhyatmika are addressed. All these 3 are present in the darshana of the sadhu, because the darshana of the sadhu directly stills the ego, directly purifies the mind. Let us see a small instance narrated by Katie Osborne when she was a young child, when she was a very small child in Bhagavan Sannidhi. I think before she left to Ooty for her schooling, I think so, that she would be playing in the ashram premises, and she reports that whenever a foreign national comes to the ashram, because they will find the food difficult to adjust for a few days and all that, it used to be the practice that such a lonely person, such a person who has traveled alone, will be hosted by the Osborne family. And one day, Lucy, I think, the Katy's mother, Katy Osborne's mother, asks her to escort a lady, a young lady, to Bhagavan's Sannidhi. And Catty Osborne says just to hold her hand and be by her side was so painful. The lady had such tapam, such anxiety that it was difficult to escort her, and she was just waiting to hand over her there and come away. And later on she finds out that the lady has lost her young husband on their honeymoon. In front of her very eyes while swimming in the beach, he is devoured by a shark. And that has traumatized her, and she is in severe tapam. And she has gone to various pilgrimage places in India before coming to Ramanashrama. And the lunch bell goes. Probably an hour or two have passed, and the bell for lunch goes, and Catty Osborne goes to get this lady. And she finds a total transformation in her, a total peace, total calmness. And Catty Osborne says that she was waiting to see what her mother will find out from this lady, what she is going to tell. And no wonder, as soon as she enters the home, Lucy Osborne asks her, what happened? What did Bhagavan say? Or what did he do? Did he offer some prasadam or anything? The lady says, no, he just looked at me with full of compassion for a moment. Then he resumed his silence. And I was simply sitting there, and I could feel my tapam recede and vanish. That is the sannidhi of the jnani, where tapam and chandirana, what those chandiran refers to not only the moon, but also to the sattvic practices we follow to reduce the overall anxiety of body, mind and atma. All that is offered merely by being near the Guru, the Jnani. Now, we all would have experienced the cool guy, the people who are cool in our office or home, somebody who has seen those experiences, and they are there to offer us the coolness, and just by being with them, we will be able to tide over a particular event. The Jnani is the one who has crossed all the worlds, to whom no trouble in any world can disturb. He is the Atma Jnani. So it is in his presence that tapam just vanishes. Now coming to the second, the wish fulfilling Kalpataru. We find as we delve into the scriptures and records, which is all available on the net, Kalpataru, the Kalpa Vriksha, is supposed to have come along with Kamadhenu out of the Samudra Mantana. The Samudra Mantana, where the Meru is kept as the stick, and the snake, Vasuki, I think, it goes around, and the Asuras and the Devas, they churn the ocean of milk, and the Amrita as well as the negative come out. Along with the Amritam, these two come. It is said that Kamadhenu and Kalpavruksha come, and Kalpavruksha is taken by Indra, so it is available in the heavens. So when you pray to Kalpavruksha, your wants are fulfilled. That is the. So naturally, Kanakammal writes that actually it is not a problem of wish fulfilling. It is that by very act of wishing, we become beggars. That even a rich man who is having billions of rupees or billions of dollars, suppose he is still feeling discontented and he just desires something else, then he is a beggar. He is having that want. And Kanakampal writes, what the Sannidhi of Bhagavan does is that it transforms the wish itself. It removes the wish. The mind becomes cool. What you were previously feeling as, after I achieve that, I am going to be a fulfilled entity, that wish itself is removed, Kanakumal says, therefore there is no better Kalpa Vriksha than the Jnani's Sannidhi. But let us not be dejected that there are enough proofs that where there is a need, where the satisfaction of a need of wealth will be necessary for our spiritual upliftment. It is part and parcel of our journey. When Bhagavan is doing Nokiye, Kardi, Meitakiye, Pakku, Akini, Andarul, when he has taken over our life and he is taking care of every detail from womb to tomb, that this is what is going to be helpful, this is not going to nourish the spiritual journey, then there are moments when the well wish is granted, and that will be most necessary and needful. Like we have the story, the legend, the actuality, the possibility of the Kanakadhara Stotram by Adi Shankara. And you have to listen to that video, the talk, I think they have posted from Kanchipuram Mutt, where Peri Periwal himself, he narrates that story. He narrates so beautifully. He says that that young boy, that Brahmachari was coming for Bhiksha. And in this household, they are so poverty ridden that he says that that place has been hit by famine. And these people are all probably, they are speakers about spirituality. And to them, the wealth reaches last in a society. When everything is fulfilled, the donation is given to whatever spiritual activity goes on. So these people are practically having no money, and that gentleman has gone out. Previous day was Ekadasi. So for Dwadasi, he has to break the fast. So what he has done, the gentleman of the house, he has picked a half-rotten amla fruit, so that he doesn't have to pick it and feel bad about stealing it. The half-rotten amla fruit that had fallen somewhere, he has picked it up and he has kept it to break his fast. And Periperiva says the lady is seeing the face, the shining luminous face of Acharya, the young boy with Brahma Tejas, and she is desperate that there is nothing in the home. She runs back to the kitchen. She knows there is nothing, but she searches again and then comes back to the door and looks at the face, and Acharya is able to see all this. Then with great rapidity, she brings that fruit and puts it in his hand, this palm, and he invokes Lakshmi. Then he, in that shloka, he says, Periperiva says, whatever they might have done, am I not praying to you? Is it not enough for you to pour all the wealth into their home? Whatever they might have done, how does it matter? He prays to her, and Lakshmi Devi just rains golden amla into the. He says in the Kerala household there will be open courtyard where rainwater comes and washes out, and in that courtyard, the courtyard is filled with the golden amla, he says. And that is what the sage does where there is need to improve, to uplift the spiritual journey. Now in Bhagavan's case, there is this Rangan who has more than two girls, 2 daughters, 3 daughters to be married off. All of them have simultaneously come to marriageable age. And this person is running between Tiruvannamalai and this Tiruchuli and has practically no money. He is looked down upon by his family because he is not contributing anything. And in front of Bhagavan, he, in great desperation, he is sitting, not telling anything to Bhagavan. Because what to tell? And Bhagavan comes and sits by his side and says, Ranga, or 10,000 irundha poduma. If you get 10,000 rupees, is it enough to see the marriage of your daughters? He shakes his head, and as is common in Bhagavan, the miracle unfolds in a very natural way. He gets a business of sale of buses. In those days, what were buses, I don't know. But he gets a commission of exactly around 10,000 rupees. That was the princely sum those days. He could complete the marriages of his daughter. And this happens that Bhagavan is Kalpataru. And Bhagavan says, when you are in mental contact with me, that is enough. The Guru's influence is not limited by the body. It is not limited when the body is dropped. It is ever present. When we think of him, he is there. He is the eternal being. When we say Ramana, he is there. That is, to the call, he is there. Now, what more we want? Sadhguru Swami says, you don't need to ask him anything. He knows what is better for your upliftment than you can ever imagine. So, just think of Bhagavan, do Atmacharam. He is the Kalpataru. Yeah, he is the wish fulfilling tree. In my own life, where I needed some money to, and I had taken off from my assignments, and one debt was still pending for a long time, that person came and gave me the documents for registration. He said, I don't want to keep this as pledge for that. Then I could register it, and in 3 years' time, it was ready for sale, and I wanted to repay it. I almost sold it for some amount, but my old friend, he met me by chance in Mysore railway station. He had come to place the luggage in the cloakroom. I was waiting to meet the friend who would take me to the broker. He just met and he asked, why are you here? He told have asked that. I told him, this is what is happening. He said, you don't do anything like that. And 1 year later, it was sold for more than double that amount, and I could easily settle the debt. That happens naturally. And so many wish fulfilling things happen. And later on, you understand, you have not even wished that, and Bhagavan has felt it the right thing for you to have. There is no greater Kalpataru than the Jnani. So, Tabam Tan Chandiranal Dainiyam, the poverty is removed by the Kalpataru called Jnani. Dainiyam Tan Nar Karpagatal Pavam Dan Gangayal Parvi. Does Ganges remove sins? And what is sin and what is punya, what is papa? When we look into the Karma Marga explanations given by the great ones, we find that each conscious act we do, what we feel as we have done, I have done, they say, the great ones say, it has a conscious and seeable element, and it has an unseen result. The unseeable is recorded by a super memory. The doer and the receiver may forget it, but the unseen element is recorded in some supercomputer, which we call as Ishvara, and that remains as to be experienced, the papam and punyam. And no wonder this is what we experience as our results of actions and all that. And though the present experience of the results for our actions is understood, one foreigner has this doubt that how can this lead to rebirth and birth? And why should we tell that the birth and rebirth are carried by Papa and Punya? It is commonly said in Hinduism that Viduvarai Uravu, Vidivarai Manevi, Kaduvarai Pillai, Kadasivarai Pavamu Pundimu. That means all the seen relations will come up to one point, but beyond death also, what you have committed as Papa and Punya is what will come. And Periperiva once again is asked by this foreigner, how am I to be sure that this is the core of Karma Yoga? That what they call as the Prarabdha, the Sanchita and the Agami. How can I understand this? That I still don't believe, though I believe in you, I don't believe that there is more than one Janma for me. This is the only Janma. Then Periperiva sends him, have you come by car or have you come by foot from Chennai? He says, come by car. Take around, there are about 10 maternity homes in Kanchipuram. Visit all of them and take down about the children born from morning that day and note down who are their parents, what is their wealth condition, what is the health of the child. All these you note down and come. He joyfully goes. Some work is given. So he goes and notes down and he brings back and tells 15 children were born and this day. Then Periperiva asks, did they all have the same conditions of health, wealth? He says no. Then Periperiva says that is the indication that the Papam and Punyam are the explanation for the differences in birth that we have. Now coming to the Ganges, how it removes the sins. It is said the holy river Ganges, bathing in the Ganges removes the sins. Papam Gangayal Parume. The sins are removed by the Ganges. A very simple proof for this is how many great ones have set up their ashrams in the banks of Ganges. Meditation is so simple when you sit there. And I had this anubhavam of going for a day. For some purpose, for some reason, we had to travel up to Delhi and come back. And instead of going to Delhi, we went to Shivananda Ashram. And it is facing the Ganges. And we were staying on the banks of the Ganges. And in Brahma Muhurtam, where the nature, it cooperates with all the sadhana, one can easily feel the power of Amma. Why they say Ganges removes the sins. You can directly feel how your own meditation is made so simple by the power there, by the power of the place. So it is that Ganges removes the sins. But sins are the unseen portion of what we have done. It cannot be seen. It has to be only experienced as from the subconscious, Ishvara releases it. From Vasana stage, it will come to us as thought and we will carry it out and then experience it. That Vasana is removed by Ganges. And that is removed by the Jnani's presence. In the Jnani's presence, the sins are automatically removed. He goes to the root thought and removes it. Therefore, the presence of the Jnani removes all the three. And Kanakaman says that not only tapam, not only poverty, not only the sins, but the ego itself is removed in the Jnani's presence. And we had seen this earlier in the experience of Kunjuswami, that he is staying in the Skandashramam days, I think, and he feels that he has attained self-realization because his mind is in constant samadhi. Then one day, the bhiksha that is received, it is far short of what is required by the residents, and he gets this magnanimous thought that why should I be a burden now that my goal has been reached? Why should I be a burden and share in this food? Let one hand be less in that. And he decides to go back to his native place. And going back, within a few days, all the old mental habits start creeping in. The samadhi experience just vanishes. Now, one advantage of the samadhi experience given by the Guru Sannidhi, what is the advantage? The advantage is that we will know we have lost it. The sadhaka will know that it is not there. And that is a great blessing. Now I am not having the same peace as in Bhagavan Sannidhi. That taste which I have had is now not there. He rushes he rushes back and asks Bhagavan, I thought I have stabilized in the Samadhi sthiti. How come it has vanished? Then Bhagavan says, it is due to Guru Sannidhi that you are able to practice Samadhi. You have still not centered it in your own erasing of the ego. So continue to stay here. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Is what Bhagavan says to Kunjaswami. Now, one part of my own experience in this journey, in this spiritual journey, has been that as far as Papam and Punyam are concerned, to give some hints, there was a sadhana which I had taken up immediately before self-inquiry, which was to do with the arising of good and bad, the arising of good and bad in us. So the teacher used to teach me that if you can listen or if you can observe without the good and bad arising in you, then you can experience the unconditioned consciousness. That if the intellect doesn't rise as good and bad, then you can still the ego and experience the quietude of the source. So I used to practice that. The method was very simple, but it had to be continuous. That when you look at something or when we hear something, can we listen or can we see without good and bad arising in us? That means there is essentially no papa or punya in the sensory world activities. But when the good and the bad arise in the intellect, then the papam and punyam are there. Now, I had very quickly moved to the thought-free state by that. I had very quickly moved to the thought-free state by the practice of listening and observing without the good and the bad arising. But since the ego had not been addressed, since the I thought had not been addressed, I would claim possession of the thought-free state. I would say that I am thought-free, why are you all not thought-free? That is when I knew that, just like Kunjaswami knew, I could experience that I am very near, I am experiencing thought-free state, but still something is blocking me. And that is when Bhagavan's grace entered as who am I? And cleared that up. That it is not enough if you partially still the intellect, still until you erase the ego, the anubhavam will not be constant. The fragrance may come and go, but till the ego is erased, the anubhavam will not be steady. So any other sadhana, in whatever efficacy it may have, gets completion only when the ego is stilled. Only when the ego is erased. Now, this is the beauty of Bhagavan's teaching, that he directly goes to the source. Now, one mistake that sadhaka may make is that every time Bhagavan is asking, ask who am I, ask for whom is this, whereas there are so many beautiful things I could have done connected with the bodily tapas, the breath tapas, the emotions tapas, the tapas regarding thoughts, all that I am not doing. I am asked who am I have to do. But let me share with you from personal anubhavam that this may be simple, but it is profound. The stilling of the ego that Bhagavan asks us to do cuts across all the other sadhanas and includes all of them. It directly goes to the source. For whom is this when we ask? That is why the Sannidhi of the Guru, it is the moon, it is all the sattvic practices, it is the Kalpataru, the wish fulfilling tree, it is the Ganges and all the holy rivers that you can visit, which will remove part of your sins. It is much more than all these three. because it directly quietens the ego. And the practice of Atmavicharam brings us to that, because we are, whenever we sit in Atmavicharam, the Ramana Shakti comes and we are going towards the self. We are in satsang. We are in satsang with the self. So Atmavicharam automatically brings all these three. One question, one essential question which Bhagavan answers is that, and which arises from a great sadhaka. He was a Siddha at that time, Natanananda Swami. Some questions are turning point questions. And this is one such question. And whenever great devotees like Muruganatha Swami or Natanananda asks a question, we'll have to pause and learn from that. And Natanananda asks, you have yourself said that Ishvara, according to Prarabdha Karma, all the papas and punyas that he has selected, from the subconscious he releases them and he sees that the jiva undergoes all that. Now, this is what you yourself have said to Mother, that the ordainer controls the destiny of individuals according to their prarabdha. Now, if the blocks in dhyanam are fixed by Ishvara, how am I ever going to sit for Atmavicharam? That was the question, and it's a profound question because it indicates a transition from one plane to another. How explanations of karma are transcended and Atmajnana is alone sought, that is the question. Bhagavan says, Prarabdha or the explanations regarding Prarabdha are only for the outward turned mind. For the mind which is turned inward to seek the self, for them, the Prarabdha or the obstructions of Prarabdha don't work, are not present. Now, this is a great blessing and a great clarification that comes to us. The book where this is present is called Spiritual Instruction, Upadesha Manjari, where this question is asked by Swami Nadanananda for our sake. It's a very profound question and which will come naturally to us and which was put to us by one of the speeches put by our previous secretary, which was placed during the eulogies we were giving him, where he writes, the Bhagavan's teaching has this two, the duality of the Ishvara Ajna and Atmajnana. One has to work it out, and this is the bridge. This is the bridge between the Papa, Punya, and the Atmajnana, where Bhagavan says the Prarabdha explanation and the Prarabdha engagement is only for the outward turned mind, one who is seeking goals there. But the moment you have by grace decided that the Atma alone is the real goal, then none of that comes because the entire plane is transcended. In Prarabdha, the Triputi is there, the experiencer, the experienced, and the act of experiencing. In Atmajnana, all the three are consumed by the self. Therefore, even Prarabdha does not come in the way when Sadguru's grace is present. What more can we ask except to sincerely sit and practice Atmavicharam? Let us do that for 10 minutes.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. Nandakumarji has taken us to the subtler meaning of these three things which have been expressed. One is the removal of tapam, the removal of the desire, fulfillment of desire, and of course the removal of sin. Of course, the beautiful instance of Kunjaswami was also given of how many have of course recognized, they have said that Bhagavan, why is it that when we are in your presence we are experiencing, the moment I go away from here, I do not experience that peace which I experience in your presence. All of us feel that when we go to the shrine or when we go to Tiruvannamalai, when we sit in Bhagavan's Sannidhi, we are able to experience it. But what is the difference is that it is, so the same thing is actually, though we feel we have moved away from it, it is actually sustained. It is because it has gone to the root. That's what the Kumarji is telling us, that it has gone to the root. Whereas if you look at all these three, the satisfaction is very temporary, or it is at that moment. When I have a tapam, that tapam is removed. I do not know about all the other tapam which is hidden within me. It is only that which I can see, that anxiety which I can see, that sorrow which I can see, because at one point what the self-enquiry, that sadhu sangha of self-enquiry, as Nandakumarji is repeatedly bringing us to it, that satsanga is self-enquiry. It reveals to us that, oh, today I have got this problem. I want relief from this problem. Yesterday I had another problem. Day before yesterday I had another problem. There has been no end to my having tapam. And every time I'm asking for the relief from this particular tapam, but another new tapam is arising the next day. We do not know what comes, what is in store for us. So there seems to be no end to it. It is so temporary. Just as Bhagavan says in Upadesha Saram that the phalam ashashvatam applies to this. And of course, wish-fulfilling tree also, because it is only with reference to that wish which is there in us at that particular point of time, the wish-fulfilling tree can give to us. But Bhagavan says about Arunachala, Keladadikkumun Kedil Pugal. So, Nandakumarji was sharing, in another satsang, he was sharing that how did Bhagavan come to us? How did this satsang come to us? Which is this Kalpataru and this moon and this Ganga and beyond that, it came without our asking, literally, practically without our asking. So from that we can see how much more magnificent, or that is why Burgunar Swami says Udari to Bhagavan. Udari uvandane utrinane and kuviye enne kulaviye anda kurisile. See, he has called us. We have to go we have to find the moon, we have to find the Kalpaturu, we have to seek them out. But that is not the case with the Sadguru. Even in this physical form, he has sought us and he has come to us. But before that itself, he has pervaded our being. And the devotees say from tomb to womb, and Bhagavan says of his Sadguru Arunachala, Arivaru Siruvayadadu Mudal Arunachala Migapiridana Arivinilanga. And in that context, Nochu Venkatramanji was quoting, he says, Appar Swami has a verse where it says, Karuvil, I thought of you in the womb. So, we do not know. The great ones can know what was the thought in the womb or what was the thought in the... We do not know, but apparently Bhagavan has entered us. Consciously, he enters our lives at some point for some of us. Even though for me, like I was born into Bhagavan surrounded, Bhagavan's pictures surrounded me and all that, still I can say that consciously there have been points when he has connected me to him more strongly. There were turning points, so that we see, oh, at this point Bhagavan has come to me. Very obviously feels that, but obviously he is there much before that. That's why Bhagavan says it is so much vaster than the kalpa vriksha, the wish fulfilling tree, or the that which can remove our suffering. And of course the Ganga is subtler because she removes the power which is not visible to us. Whereas these two are apparently visible. That which we ask for from the wish-fulfilling tree, that we ask for relief from tapam, are apparently visible. Though the total load is not visible, at least the tip of the iceberg is visible. Whereas in that pavam punyam, nothing is visible. But that entire thing is removed. But though it is removed, the basis, unless it is removed, then again another load can build up. The one who is doing this pavam or punyam, the one who is accumulating, and the problem is that pavam will go with Gangama, but punyam will not go. So to suffer the punya, one has to remain. And it is a strange thing which Bhagavan says, that he says every thought is suffering. So even punya, if it has to be enjoyed, it is a suffering actually, because it has to be enjoyed with an identity, and the identity is the root cause of suffering. So that tapam, if it has to go, that satsanga alone can remove that tapam, because that Bhagavan, that's why he says in Aksharamala, kutra mutru aruthi ennai gunamai padithal guruvai olir arunachala. The basic problem, if it doesn't go, then again it will start. When we say, no, it has to be pulled out by the root. That's why Bhagavan says in the very ahattai verarupai arunachala. That's the very first verse. He starts by saying it is pulled out from the root. It is rooted out. The ahankara is rooted out. So there is nobody left to do papa or punya. There is that famous incident with Muruganar Swami where it is said that somebody came from an ashram to Bhagavan and he was narrating how his guru has said they should do so many thousands of japa in a day, and then the end of the day the fruit of the japa is offered to the guru, and Bhagavan says, oh, very interesting practice. This the guru takes away all the interest. You are asked to do the japa, all the interest is taken away. He is given away to the guru. And Muruganar Swami says, oh, that guru is much better than ours. That guru is allowing them to keep the capital. Our guru he just swallows the capital itself. So interest cannot build up. Neither pavam nor punyam no interest can come when capital is gone. Capital is devoured, says Muruganar Swami. That is the power of the satsanga. And Kanakama and all, they have enjoyed that in Bhagavan's presence, they have enjoyed it. They have seen Muruganar Swami, Kanakama and all, they have seen how they have been swallowed, literally. And even among our own devotees, I have heard that expression being given, that I am being eaten up, I am being swallowed, being shared by in the satsangs also, I have heard this expression being used by many devotees, that they feel they are being eaten up by Bhagavan, literally swallowed by Bhagavan. Slowly anyway, he may not eat us all at once, but sometimes he has us slowly little breakfast, dinner, lunch, like that it goes on. But his job is to finish. That he is very certain. He is not going to leave anything unfinished. We may leave jobs unfinished. In the previous satsang, we heard N.R. Krishnamurti here saying how Bhagavan never leaves any job unfinished. So that is our guarantee that Bhagavan does not leave the job unfinished. Although, for our sake, he allows us to remind him also, Bhagavan, looks like you have not completed your task as yet. He says to Arunachala, no, what is this? What is your plan? You have started, you have left me half finished. If you don't complete it, the world will blame you. All that also he allows us to say to him. Whatever he has said to Arunachala is only for us to say to him. But we know that even making us say that is part of his job probably, to allow us to say all this, everything which happens, everything he is allowing and planning in our life, like, Sindit Arupada, Bhagavan says. Sindit. See that grace, he says, is not a casual grace also. Very, very carefully planned. Sindit Arupada, Sinandipur Katti, Shirayit Undanai Arunachala. So the web has been carefully made in order to trap and to devour all of us, and then that sweetness, the ambrosia of a state where there is no tapam and where there is no wish left for the wish-fulfilling tree to fulfill. That is what Sadhuam Swami says, in his that very favorite song among devotees, Ramanaya Namamo, Namadasai Vodiyum Karpahamana Taruve, he says. Ramana is that wish-fulfilling tree which destroys our desires. Namadasai Vodiyum Karpahamana Taruve. Say other Karpaha Taru, it fulfills desires, and actually fulfilling desire is very dangerous. Immediately one more desire will crop up, repetition of that same taste will crop up. But this Kalpataru, this Satsanga will completely destroy that from which any desire can arise, whereby filling us with that bliss. And these verses, Bhagavan, through these verses, he is repeating his promise to us. He's saying, look, I am taking care like this. I am taking care of you like this. This is how I am taking care of you. This is what happens through satsanga. This is what is happening. Can you see? Whether you know it or not, this is what is happening. That's what he is telling us through all these verses. And in the beautiful satsanga that he has allowed us to do manana on these verses with Nanda Kumarji. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramnaka.